In a world where emotions often rule, where the need for validation has become a trap, and where many men lose themselves in relationships, there's a secret. A secret that has been passed down for thousands of years, but few actually understand its power. A secret that gives men true power, control, and peace of mind. That secret? Stoicism. Welcome to Stoic Warriors, where we uncover the timeless principles that give men strength, wisdom, and resilience in an often chaotic world. Today, we're diving deep into the 8 things men should never do with women. Principles rooted in Stoicism and dark psychology. These are the hidden dangers that every man should avoid if he wants to retain his dignity, his power, and his sense of self. So if you're ready to level up and build unshakable strength in your relationships, make sure you stick around. And before we dive in, I want you to hit that like button and drop an empowering phrase in the comments that reflects your journey toward mastery. Let's start. The first principle every man must grasp if he is to avoid falling into weakness is emotional control. Stoicism teaches us that emotions, whether joy, anger, or frustration, are like storms in the mind. They come and go, but the wise man remains unmoved. His emotional state is not dictated by external forces. When it comes to relationships, too many men allow their emotions to take the reins. They become anxious, angry, or desperate, believing that by showing their emotions, they can win a woman's affection. But here's the reality. Emotions are a tool, not a weapon to be wielded recklessly. In the world of dark psychology, emotions are often used as a method of manipulation. The more emotionally unstable you become, the easier it is for someone to play you. A woman who senses your emotional volatility may begin to use it to her advantage. She could withhold affection to make you chase, or she may use your own emotions to push your buttons. This is why Stoics focus on mastering their emotions. They are not cold or detached, but they choose not to let emotions dictate their actions. They recognize the power of control and understand that a man who masters himself, his thoughts, emotions, and reactions, becomes unstoppable. Remember, emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing how to respond. If you've ever felt your emotions take control in a relationship, it's time to reassert your power. You are in charge of your emotional state. Nothing or no one should be able to push your buttons without your consent. If you agree with this, hit the like button and leave a comment below. Emotions are tools, not weapons. Now, let's move on to the next crucial mistake men make. The second mistake that many men make in relationships is chasing validation. It's a trap that modern society has set, convincing men that they need to seek constant approval from women to feel validated or worthy. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what true power is. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate inner strength, to rely on ourselves and our own virtues for validation. A Stoic man understands that the opinions of others, especially those of women, are irrelevant to his self-worth. He doesn't need external validation to feel complete. He is already whole. Chasing validation from a woman weakens you. It shows that you need her approval to feel good about yourself. When you give her that kind of power, you become a slave to her opinion. You lose control over your own self-image and begin to base your identity on her approval. And when that approval is withheld, you're left in emotional turmoil. Now let's bring in a bit of dark psychology. Women, like anyone else, are drawn to strength, not weakness. When a man constantly chases validation, he becomes predictable, and predictability is never attractive. It makes you appear desperate, and desperation is the opposite of power. The more you chase, the more she will pull away, because she can sense that you are not whole on your own. The solution? Find your validation within. Focus on your mission, your growth, and your principles. When you do this, you stop seeking approval. You stop needing anyone to tell you that you're enough. And that, my friend, is when the real power emerges. When you become a man who is self-validating, you'll notice that women will gravitate toward you, not because you're chasing them, but because you are centered in your own strength. If you resonate with this, drop a comment below saying, "I am enough." And don't forget to like this video if you're beginning to see the power of self-validation. Now, let's continue. The third thing that no man should ever do with women is compromise his core values. The Stoics taught that virtue is the highest good, and living in accordance with our values is what makes us truly free. In relationships, too many men abandon their principles to please someone else, thinking that sacrificing their integrity will lead to happiness or love. This is a grave mistake. When you compromise your values to meet the expectations of someone else, you lose your true self. A man who stands firm in his principles is respected, admired, and trusted. But a man who bends to the will of others, especially when it contradicts his values, becomes a shell of who he was meant to be. Let's examine the psychology here. Women are naturally drawn to strength, consistency, and authenticity. When a man compromises on his values, whether it's in his actions, beliefs, or behavior, he signals weakness. It shows that he is willing to sacrifice what he believes in to gain approval or affection. This behavior is transparent, and it breeds resentment. Not only do you lose respect for yourself, but the woman loses respect for you too. True strength comes from holding steadfast to your values, regardless of the circumstances. Whether it's in your work, your friendships, or your relationships, never let anyone convince you to betray your principles. A man with integrity is always more attractive than a man who bends and breaks to fit another's desires. Remember, a Stoic does not sacrifice his values for the fleeting comfort of pleasing others. His commitment to what is virtuous and true is unshakable. So I challenge you to stand firm in your values. And if you agree with this, drop a comment saying, "My values are my strength." Don't forget to like this video if you're ready to protect your integrity. Now let's move on. The fourth thing men must never do in relationships is to become submissive. Stoicism is all about self-mastery and independence. A Stoic man does not bend to the will of others. He stands firm in his convictions, and he never compromises his sense of autonomy. Now, let's talk about the psychology of submission in relationships. When a man becomes submissive, when he gives up his power to appease or please a woman, he loses his identity. Submission creates an unhealthy power dynamic, where the man becomes the follower, not the leader. And this is where things start to unravel. Women, despite what some may think, are not looking for weak men who will do anything to win their affection. They seek strength, resilience, and the ability to stand on their own. When you submit to a woman's demands, when you let her dictate the course of the relationship, you become less of a man in her eyes. You lose your masculinity, and she will eventually begin to lose respect for you. In dark psychology, this is a common manipulation tactic. The more a woman sees you as a follower, the more she takes control. She might not consciously do it, but the dynamic is set in motion. A man who submits to his woman is a man who loses himself, and that loss is often irreversible. A Stoic man, on the other hand, maintains his independence. He never submits to anyone or anything. His strength lies in his ability to navigate life on his own terms, not by bending to the desires or needs of others. This doesn't mean he is domineering or controlling. Far from it. It means he respects himself enough to never let his sense of worth depend on someone else. If you agree with this, leave a comment below saying, "I am my own master." Don't forget to like this video if you see the strength in independence. Now let's continue. The fifth critical mistake that men make in relationships is not setting boundaries. As Stoics, we understand that boundaries are essential for protecting our time, our energy, and our mental space. A man who fails to set boundaries is a man who allows others to walk all over him. He becomes a doormat instead of a leader of his own life. Setting boundaries isn't about being rigid or hostile. It's about showing respect for yourself and the other person. A man who has clear boundaries demonstrates that he values his time and energy, and he is not afraid to say no when something or someone threatens his peace of mind. Whether it's dealing with a woman's demands or simply knowing when to walk away from unhealthy situations, boundaries are the bedrock of a healthy, respectful relationship. In dark psychology, the absence of boundaries is saying boundaries are my armor. And don't forget to hit that like button if you're ready to protect your energy. Now let's move on to the next point. The sixth mistake many men make in relationships is being overly available. There's a dangerous belief that in order to be loved, a man must always be present, always accessible, and always ready to drop everything for a woman. But this is not only unwise, it's a sure way to lose respect and self-control. Stoicism teaches us the importance of maintaining our own life, our mission, and our sense of purpose. A Stoic man is not defined by his relationship, nor does he let it consume his existence. He has his own projects, his own passions, and his own goals. His time is valuable, and he doesn't waste it chasing affection or approval. Here's the psychology. When you're always available, you become predictable. Predictability is not intriguing, it's boring. Women, like all people, are drawn to challenge. When a man makes himself too available, he signals that he has no life of his own, no independence, and no boundaries. This creates a power imbalance where the woman can take him for granted. This isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing your own worth and treating your time as valuable. You don't need to drop everything at a moment's notice to prove your affection. By maintaining a full life outside of the relationship, you stay in control. You retain your autonomy, and that autonomy is magnetic. The Stoic principle of memento mori, remembering that life is short, reminds us not to waste it by being overly available to anyone. Your time is precious. Use it wisely, and the right people will respect that. If you agree with this, comment below with "My time is my treasure." And don't forget to like this video if you're ready to protect your independence. Let's continue with the next lesson. The seventh thing men must never do in relationships is lose themselves. One of the most dangerous pitfalls is when a man becomes so consumed by a relationship that he forgets who he is. He abandons his passions, his ambitions, and his sense of identity, all for the sake of someone else. Stoicism teaches that the only thing we truly control is our own mind, our thoughts, and our actions. A man who loses himself in a relationship is not acting with wisdom. He is surrendering his sovereignty. He begins to revolve around the relationship, forsaking the things that gave him his strength and purpose. This is a recipe for disaster. Here's where dark psychology comes into play. When you lose your identity, when you give up your passions and ambitions, you are no longer seen as a whole person. You become dependent on the relationship to define you. This puts you in a vulnerable position, as you are no longer an individual, but a shadow of someone else's desires. You lose your power, and with it, the attraction you once had. The key here is balance. A Stoic man knows that relationships are important, but they do not define him. He remains true to his mission, his dreams, and his values, even within a relationship. When you hold on to your individuality, when you keep growing and evolving outside of the relationship, you become more attractive because you are a man of substance, not someone who is waiting to be completed by another. Remember, a relationship should enhance your life, not consume it. You should be a complete person on your own, and only then can you bring your best self to the relationship. Never lose your identity, because when you do, you lose everything. If you agree with this, comment below saying, "I am whole on my own." Don't forget to like this video if you're ready to maintain your strength and purpose. Now, let's move on to the next point. The eighth and final thing men should never do in relationships is give her all your power. This is perhaps one of the most subtle yet dangerous traps that many men fall into. Power dynamics are constantly at play, and the moment you surrender all your control and agency, you relinquish your strength. Stoicism teaches us that our greatest source of power is our ability to control ourselves. A Stoic man is not swayed by external forces. He doesn't give others the ability to dictate his actions, thoughts, or emotions. He remains anchored in his own principles and never allows anyone to take his power. When you give a woman all your power, you place yourself at her mercy. You stop making decisions based on your values and begin to make choices based on what will please her. The irony is that in doing so, you lose the very thing she was initially attracted to: your autonomy, your confidence, and your inner strength. Dark psychology exploits this dynamic. When you give someone all your power, you become dependent, and dependency creates weakness. People, especially women, are drawn to strength, not desperation. The moment she realizes she has complete control, the attraction begins to fade. She may not consciously manipulate you, but the power imbalance is undeniable. And when you lose your power, you lose everything. The Stoic approach is simple. Maintain your power. Stay true to your purpose, your mission, and your values. A woman will respect you more when she sees that you are a man who can stand on his own, who is not reliant on her for validation or happiness. A man who is fully in control of his life and his power is a man who attracts respect. Remember, the moment you give away your power, you become a prisoner of the relationship. A Stoic man understands this better than anyone, and he will never let his agency be taken. If you agree with this, comment below with, "I am the master of my power." And don't forget to like this video if you're ready to stand strong in your own authority. The ninth mistake that many men make in relationships is acting out of neediness. This is a powerful concept because neediness stems from a lack of self-sufficiency, and it's one of the most unattractive traits a man can display. Neediness is the opposite of Stoic strength. The Stoic man is self-reliant, secure in himself, and never acts out of desperation. When a man is needy, he becomes emotionally dependent on the relationship for his happiness, validation, and sense of worth. He constantly seeks reassurance and approval, believing that if he doesn't get it, he will lose the affection of the woman. But this is a dangerous mindset because it places the woman in a position of power over his emotional state. Neediness creates a toxic dynamic. It makes you appear insecure, desperate, and weak. Women at a subconscious level are drawn to strength, not desperation. When you act out of neediness, you give away your power and control, and this becomes a massive turnoff. The more you try to cling to the relationship, the more she will feel the need to pull away. Stoicism teaches us that we should never be dependent on external factors for our peace of mind or happiness. A man who is needy is a man who has not yet mastered himself. But when you are content with your life, when you are whole, independent, and secure, you no longer seek validation or approval. You simply exist in a state of self-sufficiency and inner strength. Neediness is a weakness, but independence is a strength. And the beauty of Stoicism is that it empowers you to cultivate that strength within. The more you focus on your own growth and your own purpose, the less you'll need anyone to complete you. You'll already be whole. If you agree with this, leave a comment below saying, "I am enough on my own." And make sure to like this video if you're ready to embrace the power of self-sufficiency. Let's move on to the final point. So, there you have it. 8 critical things men should never do in relationships. These principles, rooted in Stoicism and dark psychology, aren't just life hacks. They're the key to living with purpose, power, and dignity. By mastering emotional control, avoiding validation seeking, sticking to your values, asserting your power, setting boundaries, and remaining independent, you reclaim the authority over your life and relationships. These steps will protect you from manipulation, will help you maintain your sense of self, and will ultimately bring you the respect you deserve. A Stoic man is never a slave to his emotions or external circumstances. He moves through life with the confidence of someone who is rooted in their own values and has an unwavering belief in their own strength. His relationships, whether personal or professional, thrive because he holds on to his principles and his purpose, always. This is the mark of a true Stoic warrior. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one Stoic principle you're going to implement in your life today? Drop a comment below with the empowering phrase, "I control my destiny," and share your commitment to becoming a man of strength and wisdom. Your words have power, so use them to affirm your path toward greatness. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss the next lesson in living a life of unshakable strength and confidence. Share this video with someone who needs to hear these principles, and let's spread the message of Stoic wisdom far and wide. Thank you for joining me today, Stoic warriors. Remember, the greatest power lies within. Stay strong, stay wise, and always keep fighting for your purpose.